Thank you and welcome to the Board of Supervisors meeting. First thing on our agenda tonight is there a motion to adopt the agenda as amended?
Mr. Chairman, I move we adopt the agenda as amended.
Is there a second?
Is there an amendment?
I don't see the amendment.
My notes say amended. Okay, is there a motion to adopt the agenda
As presented.
as presented?
I move we adopt the agenda as presented.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Very much.
Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next thing is the agenda for the public comment period, which is 45 minutes. That's for the public to give any input on items which are on this agenda that are not the subject of a public hearing. Do we have any people signed up?
If we don't hear that anybody wants to speak on the agenda, there are some people that have signed up for afterwards. I don't think I mixed up or not, so if there's anybody, I assume, that wants to speak on the agenda, it would be allowed to at your pleasure.
Okay. Is there anybody who'd like to speak on anything on the agenda? And did people get a copy of the agenda so we know? No comments? Okay, if no one wants to speak, we'll go on to the next item on our agenda, which is the Warren County Planning Commission, their annual report. That's Karen Logan. Is Karen, you're available to us? There you are.
At the completion of each year, our planning staff develops a report of the year's activities within our department. The Planning Commission approved this report at their meeting in February. The report is included in your packet. The Commission held 12 regular meetings and 3 work sessions in 2019. The Planning Commission and Board of Supervisors worked together to adopt a strategic vision to provide direction for the upcoming comprehensive plan update. New home construction was slightly down from last year with 150 new home permits approved, and the annual housing unit increase for 2019 was 0.88%. There were 22 new lots subdivided in the county last year. The Planning Commission reviewed 20 conditional use permits for a variety of uses. We also spent a good amount of time last year reviewing the request from Crooked Run West for the proposed rezoning for a planned residential development. Those applications were withdrawn from the applicant back at the end of last year. The Equus Capital's partner rezoning and conditional use permit were approved just north of the jail on Route 34522 for construction of a 324,000 square foot warehouse facility, and that site plan is currently under review in our department. We also approved a site plan for a multi-tenant building in the Riverton Commons Shopping Center. The Taco Bell in Valvoline opened this year, and we completed the review of the chapel at Christian College, which is currently under construction. We continue to organize and lead the Development Review Committee and also handle the Law and Subject Appeals Board, which considered and reviewed 3 variance applications this year, as well as the Board of Zoning Appeals, which reviewed 6 variances this year. We continue to be involved with regional planning efforts, and we are currently working with the Regional Planning Commission to complete our first bicycle and pedestrian plan. And we're also involved as the county representative for the Joint Tourism Committee and for the town CDBG project. We continue to make planning presentations to the Smithsonian Conservation Research Center and the chamber leadership groups and other committee groups. So 3 of our planning commissioners' terms ended in December of 2019, and we welcome our 3 new commission members. I look forward to working with them. And we also look forward to working with the Board of Supervisors this coming year, reviewing land use and planning issues. We'll be beginning our comprehensive plan review probably mid-year. We'll be recommending an updated capital improvement plan to the board, and we'll be reviewing and renewing the county's 3 agricultural and forestal districts this year. So we look forward to the progress of several commercial and industrial projects this year. So we'll continue to assist the public with applications and review processes and provide a high level of customer service. If you have any questions, just let me know. The report is in your packet. Please get a chance to review that. So.
Thank you very much. Any comments or questions for Taryn? Thank you. Next on our agenda is the Parks and Recreation Commission, their 2019
Excuse me,
annual
Mr.
report.
Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I think we need to at least approve the annual report of the Orange County Planning Commission.
Are we, do I have a,
I make that motion. I move that the Board of Supervisors approve the annual report of the Orange County Planning Commission for the year 2019.
Second.
any comments or concerns?
It just sounds like they have been busy, and I think this upcoming year is going to be busy as well, especially with the 3 new members and bringing them up to speed. And I don't know, I think maybe it was in there, but where are we on the comp plan review? Has that been completed, or are we still in progress?
So the board adopted the vision, which kind of kicked it off last February, and then we reviewed one chapter last year, chapter 3, the natural resources, but I didn't want to get into the land use and the more complicated chapters when I knew we would be getting probably 3 new members. So we'll probably kick that off mid-year this year.
And that's something I think that, I don't know, the state requires or mandates that it has to be updated every 5 years or so, but it can also be amended throughout the years of that.
That's correct.
Okay. Well, good luck.
You'll be seeing it.
All those in favor of approval signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. Now, let's talk with the Parks and Recreation Committee and their 2019 report.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Some of you may or may not know that the Parks and Recreation Commission was created in 2004, May, to act as an advisory board to the Board of Supervisors. And for the past 15 years, and annually, they've been out and about in the community. They've also helped recreational organizations. They've helped the Parks and Recreation Department immensely, particularly endorsing a lot of our programs and activities, helping with our budget decisions, helping with park development, and just in general, many things as they can. They also get out and about in the parks. They visit the parks. They come back and talk to us at meetings, scheduled meetings, and bring up some great ideas and some improvements that we may need. So we really, really appreciate them. Back in 2006, the Board of Supervisors asked that we prepare and present, as we are going to do this evening, an annual report. And unlike Tara and I actually going to have a gentleman behind me give the report. We've been doing that for a number of years. I'm going to like to introduce Mr. Ron Harvey. He was the former vice chair, current member. He's been with us for 15 years, and prior to that with our Recreation Association with the town of Port Royal and the commission for over 30 years, both ends. But Mr. Harvey, please come forward.
Hello, everybody. I see 3 new members on the board from when I have given these reports, and so just like to introduce you to me. I am a former history teacher, and I just wanted to welcome you to the board. And now I will get to the report.
Thank you.
The 17 members. I'm not going to go over everybody's name. And we are led by Dan Lentz and Robin Richardson, with great assist by our county administrator, Doug Stanley, in everything that we do with the program. You have a report, and I will be brief in going over it. Commission members attended the Warren County Board of Supervisors meeting last year about this time. One of the biggest additions to the association's charge this year has been the splash pool. It was over $90,000 addition down at the side park, and was mostly paid for before it was put in. It is one of the nicer additions to the facilities that we have in the county. The park was dedicated at the same time that we had our Festival of Leaves tournament, our festival, and so consequently not many people were there to see this in October. Mr. Lentz has said that the Front Royal Golf Course hosted in his report an open house on May 10th, and also had a UPS golf tournament there this year, which was rather nice to have for our facility. I think you will be hearing more about the golf course a little later tonight. Ms. Robin Richardson, the second in command, presented a PowerPoint to the Commission regarding Love Our Parks Day. The National Parks and Recreation Agency had designated July as Recreation Month. And she had all these activities prepared for the youth and the citizens of our community, which like the fishing and doggy play dates were very successful down at Easton Park, the water slide, disc golf, which is a rather nice little facility we have down at Rockland Park, half price admission to the swimming pool, and concert in the park, all on one day on the 13th of July. Just happened to be Robin's birthday, kind of interestingly enough. The Commission dealt with discipline. Subcommittee had 2 individuals barred from the Warren County Parks and Recreation Facilities. 1 appealed and had the appeal overturned, and 1 had a unanimous decision to leave it as it was. The Commission members individually toured, inspected, and attended activities in the Warren County Park system throughout the summer and fall. Future action to be taken by the Recreation Parks Commission include participating in the planning and development of the Warren County Park system. Recommendation and endorse future programming of the Warren County Community Center, the Health Center, and various outdoor activities. Assist with the continuing completion and redesign of the Rockland Park Master Plan, and tour the Parks and Recreation Department's ongoing capital projects to keep abreast of their development. If you have any other questions, please ask me. We've had Tony as our representative for many years on the Park Commission. I've seen the chairman and Ms. Cullors at our last couple meetings. They're always open to you. And feel free to come in and ask. Tony, you got any questions?
I don't have any questions, I was just going to take up, from you being a history teacher, maybe get a little bit more history there too. But you on, I guess the advisory board, wherever, I think it's Mr. Lansing mentioned before we set this up. I guess it was 98 or so, the town was in charge of the Parks and Rec. There was a swap. The county took it over while the town did a relatively adequate job of facilities and maintenance. Once the county took it over, it's been a steady improvement process, I believe. It's just almost too much to mention. The commission itself is made up of at-large members, members of the different leagues, soccer, football,
All the leagues,
all of
yes.
that. So it's good process to allow everybody to know what's going on with their other programs. And also, I think the input from the commission is, as far as facilities, again, like I said, at one time, we had the Little League, they kind of busted out. We created some other things. Since that, we've done the renovation of Bing Crosby Stadium. It's an ongoing process as far as updating the tennis courts. You used to be a tennis coach too, didn't you?
Yep, 30 years.
It just seems like there ain't a lot of people playing tennis, but we still have those facilities available. And I think that's what the Parks and Rec Department's trying to do, is to provide recreation activities facilities for anybody from 3 to 93, and also dogs.
Yes.
It has a dog park too.
And cats.
And cats. Yeah, throw the cat in the dog park. We'll see what happens then. But then also the walking trails along the river. You mentioned Rockland Park. That's more or less the park of the future, where we may look to expand some additional playing fields which are needed as the money comes up. And as you mentioned too, that's the capital improvement plan for the parks, which I'm not sure if all the members have got another chance to see that. But again, you've been able to do it almost as a pay-as-you-go. The soccer fields, we have like 600 kids playing in soccer. We've got those out there at Crowford Avenue, great facility. A lot of the things we have, I think, are the envy of the valley. And people come to play the soccer or whatever, they're just impressed with the facility we have. Same thing, like I said, with visiting teams in your high school or the Valley League. They just are impressed with the facilities we have to offer. And the other thing too is we also have, I guess, we're taking part in the Health and Human Services building, which here again, go back, it's called 15th Street School. But we also have a gym that we can utilize for different organizations and youth basketball and the whole thing. So I think we really are doing a great job as far as providing opportunities for a broad spectrum of our citizens. And I think that a big part of that goes to the commission and how they've moved forward and taken into account different ideas and try to move those forward.
I think about the only thing you missed was the skate park. But other than that, I just, in closing, would like to say that the parks got started in '50 with Gertrude Miller accosting some guy by the name of Bing Crosby up on the stage of Warren County High School and enticed him to give a donation of $5,000 to start our, what is now called Bing Crosby Stadium. And that was the initial investment into getting all our facilities started. And 3 years later, over here, Mr. Fox, played on the 53 Little League World Series team that came in third in the nation and ended their run with a no-hitter by Max Cameron against Camp Hill. But he's seen this development right on through. Are there any other questions?
Let's go ahead, Mr. Clay.
No, I didn't purposely omit us in the skate park. I don't skateboard, but if you'd like to join me out there sometime, we can work on it together.
No. Okay. Thank you.
I'm just going to say, make one little comment. I can recall when there was one employee with the park system, and one stadium had a lot of rocks in it that had to be picked up. And so it's grown, and it's just become a real magnificent thing to see it grow and be what it is today. Thank you.
We missed Bob. Thank you.
Any additional comment from Parks and Rec?
Dan will answer.
Say again?
Dan will answer.
If there's any questions, Dan will answer.
Okay. Is there a motion to approve the Warren County Parks and Recreation Committee annual report?
Mr. Chair, I move the Board of Supervisors approve the 2019 annual report of the Warren County Parks and Recreation Commission.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion at all? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Next is the reports from our board members. We can start with our county administrator, Mr. Stanley.
Mr. Chair, just a few items to report on this evening. First, in accordance with new requirements of the 2019 legislative session, amending section 15.22511 of the Code of Virginia, which became effective July 1, 2019, if the locality's audit is not completed as required by the statute, the locality must promptly post a statement on its website, if such website exists, with the following information: that the required audit is pending, that the reasons for the delay, and the estimated date of completion. The County of Warren is posting the following statement, or has posted. The required financial audit for FY 18-19 is currently pending by the independent audit firm of Robinson Farmer Cox Associates Certified Public Accountants. The reason for the delay is as follows. The county has all of its information into the auditor for the CAFR, the Comprehensive Annual Financial Report, and the transmittal data to the Auditor of Public Accounts. However, there's been a delay in the preparation of the financial statements by our auditor. This has resulted in a delay of the actual completion of the audit and preparation of the CAFR. The estimated date of completion of the required audit in preparation of the CAFR and the transmittal data to the Auditor of Public Accounts is no later than March 31 of this year. We have tentatively scheduled RFC to be here at the board's March 3rd meeting, our next regular scheduled meeting, to present the audit. So assuming that everything is completed, will be on that date. As you know, last year we had to put a footnote in because of our component unit, the EDA, was not complete, and we didn't adopt our audit till December. We anticipate putting the same footnote in our 18-19 audit. Delinquent tax sale. TACS has scheduled its next auction of delinquent real estate taxes here at the Government Center, February 20th, 2 p.m. A list of the properties that will be sold has been posted on the county's website and Facebook page, and that sale will be here again this Thursday at 2 p.m. For the FY 2021 budget, the board, of course, met earlier this evening with the school board. Our next budget work session is scheduled March 3rd, 11 a.m. after our regular meeting here at the Government Center. Tourism Committee met on February 12th. Community Wayfinding Signage Initiative continues to move forward. It's currently under review by VDOT. There was a lot of discussion among the committee members about tourism being a joint effort between the town and county. The committee also discussed the proposed budget of the county's projected tourism funding for FY 2021. The committee will meet again on the week of February 26th to continue their discussions. Fire and rescue bids for the project for the training facility were due on January 16th. We received 3 bids for the project. They're currently being reviewed prior to making a recommendation to the board. It was taken to the Chiefs Advisory Committee on the 10th, and the building committee will review at its next meeting on March 2nd. And lastly, the multi-tenant building out at Riverton Commons for the former Capital One Bank building. The building permit was applied for demolition and construction. DEQ has since approved the plan for the project, and the county has issued the demolition and land disturbing permits. That project should be getting underway in the very near future. With that, I'd be happy to answer any questions, Mr. Chairman.
Questions from anyone? Thank you, Mr. Stan. County Attorney, Mr. Hamm?
I have no report.
Mr. Carter?
I just want to say, I'm not sure if the board's aware of it, but we have been working on the budget last month and a half. And we've been working
We're
on
aware.
a lot of information, a lot more information to come, a lot more questions. That's good. The last piece, I think, of the budget request was the school board, which we met with them tonight to get a feel on what their wish list is. And right now, we're just kind of waiting for the revenue projections to determine what the gap may be. And I know we'd all like to see that sooner, but I think we have to wait to see. I think it's people revenues don't come in until mid to late March. Waiting on the state budget to see what they're going to determine. But again, by the 3rd, we should have an idea of what kind of gap there may be. And I don't know, I'm sure you all have been on the list too from VACO or whatever, keeping tabs on the General Assembly. I did notice there's at least 1, maybe 2, and they're very good at that, passing on unfunded mandates to localities, so that can have an impact on the budget too. It was good news, I think, from the school tonight. They said they were seeing no increase in their health insurance, so let's keep our fingers crossed, knock on wood, get a lucky horseshoe or something, and hope that we can have the same outcome with that too, because that can be a big bite in the budget. But that's all I have at this time. Thank you.
Well, I'll just add that we are working on the budget. It's like drinking from a fire hose. But we are actively asking questions. We're meeting on our own time. We're calling up department heads. We're doing everything we can to familiarize ourselves with what the requirements the county has. Much of it is dependent upon the state and what they will require of us and what they will require of the schools. So we're waiting until the Virginia Assembly is finished and we know for sure what we're expected to do. But if you have questions and you want to understand the budget process, please reach out. We're happy to work with you and help you to understand what it is we're trying to accomplish. That's all I have.
Thank you. Mrs. Cullors?
I attended fire chief's meeting. Honestly, I don't remember the date because with all the budget meetings, everything's kind of running together, but did meet with them and the volunteer fire chiefs, and it was a good meeting. Been to many budget sessions, so wonderful learning opportunity. We had some people from the county that came in, and I think they got a good perspective of what this is like. It's not an easy process, it really isn't. On the 7th of 8th of February, Mr. Mabe and I attended training in Richmond through VACO for new chairman and vice chair. That was really interesting. There was a lot of information in a short period of time and talking with a lot of other supervisors from other counties. We all have similar problems. And I think that's it for me for right now.
Mr. Fox?
Well, I also attended the school board meeting a few minutes ago, and it was gratifying that there's no big surprises amiss from the school board, so things seem to be going well there. That's all I have to report.
Well, I've been doing everything that I could to get around to see every meeting that I can be. I got way too many to list, and last week was a tough week for me. I managed to hurt my back. We got through it, and we still got to see every place that we could see. So specific places, it's all a blur. And budget meetings are like drinking from a fire hose. And any questions that come up, please ask. We'll be happy to try to help you answer them. We've got something that we have to do now. 7:30?
Probably the public hearing, sir.
Okay. We can now take just a minute to actually go through our public hearing, so we can have anybody that wishes to speak about anything. They can come up. It's supposed to be 15 minutes long. We will do our best to accommodate as many people as we can, and we'll limit it to about 5 minutes.
I think we do the public, I think we should go through the public hearings now. It says it's 7:30, and the public
Yes.
presentations could be after that.
Okay, that's okay.
To the L1.
Okay, the other one.
That was on the back page, it's hard for you to miss.
It's easy to confuse me today. I've been to school.
Okay.
The first thing on the public hearing is the contract for the Centric Business Systems for 2 Roki copiers for the county administration suite. Caitlin,
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, and members of the board.
can't hear you.
Sorry, hopefully that's better. In June 2015, Warren County contracted with RICO for 2 copiers for a 48-month term. This contract has expired and the county is currently paying on a month-to-month basis. Both copiers are several years old and have been discontinued and are no longer available for purchasing. The contract with RICO includes a monthly allowance of 31,000 black and white copies, but does not include a monthly allowance for color copies. Subsequently, the county is charged 5 cents per color copy and overages per each month. The average monthly charge for color overages is $178.79. The service type selected by the county includes all supplies, including ink, staples, does not include paper, but does include servicing for the machines. The monthly cost currently for the county is $657.31. In your packet, you received a proposal from Centric Business Systems, which is a document management company. The term for the proposed lease will be for 2 replacement RICO copiers, and it will be for a term of 63 months at $649.72 per month, and would include a monthly allowance of 26,000 black and white copies, a monthly allowance of 3,000 color copies, and all supplies and services included except for paper. This contract is facilitated through the U.S. Communities Government Purchasing Alliance. The Board of Supervisors previously authorized this for the county administrator to enter into a contract with Century Business on the January 7, 2020 meeting. However, pursuant to the Virginia Code, this type of lease actually requires a public hearing. So this issue is back before the board for a public hearing. The public hearing has been properly advertised, and I'll be happy to answer any questions that the board may have.
Any questions? I have one quick one. This particular lease is kind of a special lease because it's for the circuit court, I think.
No, this lease.
This is not the same one?
This is the same one, and I believe you're talking about essentially how this falls into procurement. This is actually an exception to, it doesn't require an IFB or an RFB because it is considered cooperative procurement, and it is, this contract is actually through U.S., well, it's facilitated through the U.S. Communities Government Purchasing Alliance, which is a government instrumentality that assists localities in reducing the cost of purchased goods. And so the contract is essentially put out to bid by the government, and so that is why it is exempt from procurement.
Yeah, I wanted you to actually say that to us because we have people that actually, we want to provide the opportunity for anybody that's on our EVA program to be able to bid on these things. and this just was not on that list. And because it was exempt, and want people to know that. We want to give it to anybody that has the opportunity to provide us that service. It's important to all of us. Keep it local if we can.
Yes.
All right, thank you. Second thing is the lease agreement for a Kubota RTV E902.
Excuse me,
Yes?
we have to open the public hearing on this one here.
Comment on this. There you go.
Does the public have anything to say about this particular item?
So the public hearing is now open?
Yes, there is.
Okay. Did anybody sign up?
No one signed up.
And then we can close the public hearing on this. Then we can go to the next item.
Need a motion?
Okay.
I move the board of supervisors authorize the county administrator to enter into a contract with Century Business Systems for 2 Rico copiers at the rate and term as proposed.
Second.
Is there any additional comment?
It's just, this is for 2 copiers, one back in the room and then the other one.
Yes, one will be located within the administration suite, and then the other is back in
Yeah,
the
that's in the mail room.
room. And it is used, both copiers are utilized by various departments throughout the government center.
And Chairman May made reference to the courthouse copier, that's a separate item.
That is not included in the proposal before the board. Only the 2 copiers within the government center.
Is the monthly allowance between both copiers or per copier?
I believe it is per copier.
So 31,000 per copier and 5,000, or is it jointly?
I apologize. I think it's jointly. I'm not entirely clear, but I can look into that and get you that answer.
And this does not fall under the Virginia Procurement Act, I guess.
It's exempt from the bid process because it's considered cooperative procurement.
Okay. I just wanted to clarify that for anybody who didn't understand earlier.
Yes.
And again, the proposed lease is $649.72, that's for both, is that correct?
Yes, for a term of 63 months.
Okay. I'd like to know how much those copiers cost. Because we have a similar thing at my office and all. But when you factor in the number of copies they give you, the maintenance, the toner, all those things, I think it's well worth it.
I have a
This-
question.
We have a second. Go ahead.
Mr. Stanley, is that per copier or is that a combination of the 2?
It looks like it's a combination of the 2, but I think they know how many copies we pretty much utilize on a monthly basis on average, so I think that's what they based it off of, so I think we'll be in good shape.
Thank you.
Is there any additional discussion? All those in favor by signifying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Now we're looking at the lease of the Kubota RTV D902 for Warren County Parks and Recreation Department Maintenance Division. Caitlin?
The Warren County Parks and Recreation Department's Maintenance Division removes snow from county facilities, park trails, and the Warren County Public Schools was also added to that list July 2019. In order to provide prompt snow removal to county facilities, the Parks and Recreation Department Maintenance Division requests the purchase of the Kubota RTV D902 for snow removal from sidewalks and park trails. Additionally, this vehicle will be used in better weather for trail and disc golf inspections. The park supervisor did solicit quotes from various vendors. Valley Equipment Company had the lowest quote. Their bid was $12,123. The proposed quote that was included in your packet breaks down to where the lease will be a total of $2,430 per year. The Board of Supervisors previously approved the request to enter into a 5-year lease agreement with Valley Equipment Company at the December 10, 2019 meeting. However, pursuant to the Virginia Code, this type of lease agreement does require the locality to hold a public hearing after proper advertisement, which is why this matter is being brought before the board again. This public hearing has been properly advertised, and I'll be happy to answer any questions the board may have.
Does the board have any questions or concerns for this?
I have one, if you will. Did you consider buying this outright rather than, has it been considered to buy it rather than to rent or lease this thing? It seems to me like it would be more suitable to buy it outright with the way the numbers work out.
That was considered. The vehicle, it will be $4,000 less to lease the equipment than it will be to purchase the equipment. So looking at the big picture, I believe it was determined by the park supervisor that it would make more financial sense for us to lease the equipment.
But at the end of the period of leasing, if you bought it outright, you still have the unit rather than having it rented. I just don't agree with it. I won't support this motion.
Well, it'll be the question at the end of the 5 years of the lease, what happens
Right.
with that piece of equipment? Does it automatically work back to the county? We have a purchase price that we have to pay in order to own the equipment.
I would have to look at the proposed lease that's being considered to get a clear answer for you, and I'll be happy to do that. And
When you look at that, could you also, does that include maintenance and repairs?
I will look into that as well.
Mr. Chair, if you could, my suggestion would be go ahead and have the public hearing. If you have questions, we can postpone decision. That way staff can go back and get the answers for you before you make a decision. And that way we get the public hearing at least taken care of. That works.
I had just a quick, this isn't my thing, but it says here the purchase option is FMV, which I assume to be fair market value.
So the question then would be is
The fair market value higher or lower than the $4,000, the difference? And that really is based on the utilization of the piece of equipment during the
6 years of the lease, I guess.
5 years.
And it is not, what is the price of actually buying the unit? Is it $14,000?
No, I believe the purchase price is $4,010.49 more than the $12,123. So approximately $16,133.
That's what it says you bought it out, I think, on the one page. It's $16,133. So if you lease it at 4,000 or the 2,400, it comes out to around 12,000. That's where you get the $4,000 savings over the period of 5 years. The very good question is what happens after that? What's the fair market of a 5-year-old car? Is it going to be more than 4,000 or less than 4,000? Or will we even really want to continue with that? Walk away and get a new one and continue paying the 2,400?
Or perhaps it may last longer than.
We don't know.
Taken care of, it should.
Additional questions or comments? Public hearing is now open. Shelley, do we have anybody signed up for this?
Mr. Chairman,
I'm sorry, I did not hear you.
no one signed up.
No one, okay. Having no one signed up, is there anyone else that would like to speak at all on this? Okay, thank you. There is no one in the audience. This public hearing is now closed. What is the pleasure of the board?
I move that the Board of Supervisors postpone this item for further discussion until, I would think, the March 3rd meeting, which should give Caitlin enough time to do some of the research and some of the questions posed.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Do I hear Chuck second?
I second that.
Any additional comment? Motion carries. Shelley, would you make sure that that goes on the next, I think it's March 3rd? Thank you. Next is a public hearing on the management and lease agreements with New Directions Golf Management Corporation for the Front Royal Golf Club. That's Mr. Stanley.
Yes, I'll actually be covering the information for you tonight. In June 2017, Warren County issued a request for proposals seeking proposals for qualified individuals or businesses to lease and manage the Front Royal Golf Club, which is located at 902 Country Club Road in Front Royal. The county has owned and operated the club since 2005, but as with many localities, significant budget cuts have occurred since the recession. While it is the primary goal of the county to retain as many core county services as possible, such as public safety and infrastructure management, we realize the history, beauty, and value of the course to our community. Given those factors, the county would prefer to retain the Front Royal Golf Club as a golf course for an amenity for our residents via a different management while refocusing on core county services. Since the time of the original RFP, the county released 4 additional RFPs in an effort to find an individual or business that had both the management experience and financial capabilities to take over course operations. The most recent RFP that was issued in September 2019 resulted in the submittal of 1 proposal from New Direction Golf Management Corporation, or New Direction. New Direction has extensive experience in the operation and maintenance of golf courses and currently runs the Gauntlet Golf Club, which is in Stafford County under a very similar situation to Warren County's. New Direction, their proposal outlines a variety of options to improve the course and to grow the game of golf for our entire community. The terms of the proposed management lease agreement stipulate that Warren County will be responsible for an annual management fee of $100,000 payable to New Direction for the management of the golf club for an initial term of 36 months. This amount would be payable monthly. At the end of the initial term, New Direction will have 1 option to extend the agreement for an additional 36 months with an annual management fee reduced to $70,000. Any costs that are incurred that exceed these amounts would be the responsibility of New Direction, not the county. Virginia Code Section 15.2-1800 provides that the county must have a public hearing prior to taking action to adopt the proposed lease. The public hearing has been properly advertised, and staff welcomes any comments that the public may have or the board may have on this proposed project. I would like to take a moment to again introduce Mike Bird, who's in the back of the room. He's the president of New Direction. And between Mr. Bird, myself, Mr. Ham, and Mr. Stanley, we should be able to answer any questions that you might have.
Would the applicant like to come up and say anything at all?
Mr. Chairman, the board, thank you for the opportunity to come before you tonight. It's pretty exciting times. It's exciting because you have a wonderful asset in this community. And unfortunately, it's been a little bit underutilized, and both by the public and maybe some of the other activities that can happen at the course. We've evaluated it very closely. We see that it could fit very nicely in this community. But most importantly, it's going to be the leader in growing the game of golf in this community. You are very proud of the fact that you have a lot of holes per capita. But what we need is a lot more golfers playing in this community. And what the goal for Front Royal will be, under the leadership of New Direction, is to grow the game. We know this because we're already starting to see that excitement. We've already started to field calls at the Gauntlet Golf Course for PGA Junior League, so the excitement is there. However, that's happened dynamically. It's happened, so we feel it and we're very excited about that. For those of you that we've given you a pretty extensive report on who we are, what our company's about. New Direction Golf Management is a new company. But let me just say a couple of things about, to the public, who New Direction is. New Direction Golf Management is committed to providing the leadership necessary to sustain a vibrant and active golf community for all ages and genders. The team of New Direction holds a true passion for the game of golf from the top down. It is the company culture that separates New Direction Golf Management from other firms in this industry. The team of New Direction has training and seeking the community outreach programs with the hopes of exposing golf to those that might have not or thought or may not have the means and opportunities to have a golf experience. New Direction Golf Management has recognition in receiving not 2, but recently 3 grants from the Middle Atlantic section of the PGA, aiding in their ability to grow the game within the communities. New Direction will provide leadership to Warren County and the neighboring communities for the growth of the game at Front Royal Golf Course and all of Warren County. The team of player development representatives at New Direction Golf Management will ensure that there is an active master calendar of programs and initiatives targeted to create potential players of all ages, social and economic backgrounds. These programs will include competitive leagues, tournaments, golf instruction through the Fredericksburg Golf and Sports Academy and other events for golfers. Potential golfers and non-golfers playing an important role in the creation, development, and sustainment of the interest of the game here at Front Royal Golf Course. The keys to success for New Direction Golf Management and Front Royal will be in providing the playing conditions at the most affordable rates, making it the best value for players of Warren County and the surrounding areas. At the end of the day, what we are here to do is we're here to bring excitement and enthusiasm for the game of golf in Warren County. We're good at it, and when we say we're going to do it, we do it. So I hope that the board finds it in the best interest to bring New Direction Golf Management as a partner for Warren County. I think you'll all be very happy that you made that decision. If there's any other questions, I'd be happy to answer those.
Thank you very much. Does the board have any questions or concerns for the staff or for the applicant? Hearing none. The public hearing is now open. Is there anyone signed up for talking about this?
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Rocco.
Yep, thank you.
Hi, Mr. Rocco. How are you doing?
Good, thank you. County President Kenneth Rocco of the 497 Forest Grove Road, Middletown, and Mr. Chairman, Supervisors, Mr. Secretary. First of all, I've been part of the Front Royal Golf Advisory Committee for a while, and we went through a lot of iterations. I'm talking not just to you, but also to some of the people in the audience today. We went through a lot of iterations on what was the best choices. We looked at how do we take a facility that we know is really in good condition, and the Parks and Recreation did a great job of recovering from the big rainfalls that we had not too long ago. And it's really in good shape. But we don't run an golf course, so to speak. We don't have professionals there. We don't have a big staff. We don't cater to the golfing community on a regular basis. We have part-time staff there, and that's fine and dandy. But if you really want to make it grow, you really have to have those who do it for a living perform that service. We look at the economic implications for the county. And it takes a while to build a clientele. It takes a while to get the staff. So you have to look at the way, the balance between economics and expenditures and revenues, and see how long could we possibly look for a return on investment. As you know, in the budget, we are looking for ways to reduce money in the budget. So one of the options that we had was to look at, can someone come and take over the course, help us reduce our annual expenditure for the course, yet grow the game and grow the potential such as Brandy so notably mentioned, a beautiful piece of land, okay? Now, the golf course is a golf course, yes, but, people don't realize that there's great access for a river down there. It's just a beautiful piece of property, and I wasn't around for the heyday before the floods, but I understand that there used to be a country club and a clubhouse and swimming pool and all kinds of activity going on down there. But I think that new direction, whom we are talking about today, offers a unique approach to the game. They use technology, they use social media, they're very, I hate the word savvy, but that's it, but let's use our word. They're very savvy at it. They run the gauntlet, and I used to play the gauntlet, so it's not like it's unknown to me. And they do a good job of attracting people, not just in the areas surrounding the golf course, but I live up in Northern Virginia, and I even travel down I-95, which is, nobody's piece of cake. So I think the answer to, what I'm trying to say is that we looked at a lot of options. We heard discussions, we heard reputable things, we used to sell the course, we could close the course, and a lot of different options. But we think that the approach that we, as a community, have looked at is to decide to recommend to you to proceed with this. And really, if you look at the budget item as a line item, it's actually saving us money over what historically we've been paying over the last couple of years. So reality is cost savings and opportunity to see where it goes. And I appreciate you listening to me. Thank you.
Shelley, is there anyone else that has signed up for speaking?
Yes, sure.
Good evening, I'm Gary Cushman, 1106 Fetchit Road, in Browntown. Unlike the previous speaker, I think there's an option that they didn't look at, and that is to not have a golf course down there. I attended the work session on this matter previously, and as I understand it, we're getting ready to consider a 3-year contract, paying them $100,000 a year. And then they, at their choice, have an option to extend that for 2 more 5-year periods. We already have 4 other golf courses, so it's not like we don't have golfing opportunities in this county. And although it does provide a recreational opportunity, the one we're talking about, it's not like it's not available anyplace else. And the only other benefit to the county is it's a walking trail down on the Shenandoah River. Well, that's just great. But we're going to pay somebody to make money off of county property. It just seems crazy to me that normally when you lease something to somebody, you get a return on it. As I understand it, the contractor is going to take the profit out of this. The county's not going to get any money out of this. We're going to pay $100,000 a year. And what we get for that is being able to have another golf course for people to go and play golf on. There's 4 other courses that they can play on. Now, I understand that there's some issue about the property having been donated by somebody originally, and we have a requirement if we're going to continue to be a steward of the property that some golfing has to occur there. So maybe this thing should not be decided tonight, but should get further analysis on determining whether we want to keep this property at all and save the $100,000 and put it back into private ownership so that the county gets a tax benefit out of it in the future. So I guess I'm just urging y'all to not vote on this tonight. That I don't think it's been properly considered about the benefit of just getting rid of the property. I don't think it's going to be worth continuing to pay $100,000 a year for 3 years on this contract, and then potentially 5 more extensions at the contractor's choice. We don't have a say in the matter. At the end of 3 years, if they decide they're making enough money on it, they want to continue, they'll say, yeah, okay, we're going to go another 5 years. So that's another $100,000 a year. If we do go forward with this, I think that there should be a provision that there's profit sharing. That once the capital investments that they make are paid back, that there's maybe a 50-50 split on the profit. So now we start getting something back from it and not just spending the $100,000 a year. Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else?
Paul Gabbard.
I'm Mr. Gabbard.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and the rest of the board. Everything that Mr. Kushner said is, I could say the same thing. But I think when I look at it, I've been playing golf since I was 25 years old. So that's a long time. This golf course will never, ever be a golf course that people will come from the city to play. It will never be a golf course that will take people away from the golf courses that are already here. There is no way. This golf course, it's a shame that it has to stay a golf course, but it's not a money-making golf course, and it never will be. People come from Herndon, they come from Maryland, they come from all over the place to play the courses that are already here. They're nice courses, they're great courses. This course, there's no hope for it to be even a golf course. I don't know what you can do with it. Turn it into a big dog run or a big dog park. But as a golf course, there's no turning it into a lucrative golf course. And like Gary said, paying $100,000 a year, what a waste of money. Thank you.
Thank you. Shelley, is anyone else signed up to speak?
No, that's it.
Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak that hasn't signed up? Yes, ma'am. Please come up and state your name and address.
My name is Ginger Morrison Winkler. My father built Shenandoah Valley Golf Course and then subsequently built Bowling Green. I presently live in Charlottesville. I've lived there for over 40 years. But since my mother's passing, my brother and I have been the owners of Bowling Green and working very diligently at that. The last gentleman that just spoke is spot on. To think the proposal that has been given to you sounds good. It sounds as though it is something that allows the county to wash their hands of the golf course, because that's not your job. It's not. It's nice to have that as a county golf course. But as he said, there are so many homes here in the county attempting to make a go of it. It would be ludicrous for anyone to think that we have not, all of these courses have not done all of those things that Mr. Byrd has suggested. The social media, the youth camps. Bowling Green has a lot going on right now as far as in the works for that. The demographics of this county are vastly different from Stafford on a lot of different levels. I think about how much we pay in taxes, which is enormous amount. No one has any idea, the general public. The upkeep also of a golf course is astronomical. No one has a clue what it costs to keep a golf course going. That's why conditions get poor unless money is poured in and poured in. I totally agree with what the gentleman said about this course is never going to bring in tourism. I mean, it's a beautiful property. It's gorgeous. I love it, but to think that people are going to drive from Stafford here to play a 9-hole course when we have championship courses surrounding the area with other amenities as well. So as a taxpayer to this county and with a vast history in the industry, I have great amount of disagreement with continuing this. I understand that there are legal implications involving the family, and the fact that the original gifting of this course was to keep it as a golf course. But it just still seems just out of control to keep this thing going. I know it's complicated, but I felt like I needed to say something about the taxes and the fact that I see this as a losing game.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else that would like to speak? Well, please let her first.
I'm Linda McDonough, 1205 High Top Road, Linden, Virginia. And I am, or have been, one of the employees that actually work at Country Club, Hidden Creek in Herndon, and Evergreen in Haymarket. And I was one of the maintenance persons that did work on greens and everything. And this deal, I agree that the $100,000 a year is just, it's too much. And they're going to be maybe, possibly making money off of it too. And I just don't agree that it should be tabled, maybe looked into it more before trying to make an agreement. Because I was at the work session and did talk about the family and how they wanted it to be a golf course and everything. Well, why can't they just give it back to the family, wash our hands of it, and then we won't have this $100,000? Because in the budget now, I just don't think that we should afford it. And to make the budget, it shouldn't come from taking stuff away from the children or the schools or the police officers or the rescue people. It should come from things like this. Good golly, Warren County owns so many properties. It's like that's one of our basic problems, is all of the different properties that Warren County owns. Was either gifted or taken by taxes or however it is that they got it. It's just costing us an arm and a leg. We have to get rid of some of these things. Scale down, just like all of us have to do. Thank you.
Thank you, Linda. Mr. Baggerly, did you want to say something?
Yes, sir.
Harold Bagley, 327 Liberty Hall Road, Front Hall, Virginia. And I'll reiterate what Justin said. It's a waste of money. The taxpayers have to pick up that $100,000, give it back to those people. It's not helping us. It's just getting into our tax money. And to save that money and go other places and save money and cut the damn taxes instead of holding their own or raising them, cut them. And that's the way you can cut them, not cutting out this nonsense. And I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hope you have a good evening.
You too.
Is there anyone else that would like to speak? Yes, sir.
My name is Stage Miller. I live at 1319 Everbowden Drive in Front Royal. Didn't plan on speaking tonight on this public hearing, but I've heard a lot of people talk about $100,000 in taxes, what it would save, what we could do with that. Well, I would ask this board to peruse your budget and point out any recreational activity that turns a surplus or profit. Any. Skateboard park, there's no revenue there. Walking trails, there's no revenue there. Rockland Park, there's no revenue there. Gertrude Miller Park, there's no revenue there. Name one facility that makes money. I left off Bing Crosby Stadium. That's the privilege of only 2 people that I know of that play there. I started caddying out at Front Royal Golf Club in about 1958, somewhere around there. I learned the game by caddying for a fellow named Judge Marshall. It was Elliot D. Marshall. Some of y'all might remember him. I know Mr. Fox does, and I think Mr. Stanley does. I'm sure Tony does also. I played 18 holes today with 7 of my better friends, 2 foursomes. We had a good time out there playing golf. The weather was a little bit cool, but it was very, very enjoyable. There aren't too many recreation activities out there for people my age and my friends' ages. Golf is one of those things that we continue to play. We play all year round. 40 degrees is about our limit when it comes to that. But we get out there and we play. We have a good time. We spend money at the clubhouse. We don't tear up the course. And I'm impressed by the way the county and the Parks and Recreation Department has started to maintain the course. It is in better condition today than it has been for quite a number of years. The greens are a little rough, but it's to be expected at this time of year. I urge you to keep the golf course open for those who still enjoy playing around the golf. I also play at Bowling Green, Shenandoah, Blue Ridge Shadows, Sly Fox. I play them all in Front Royal and Warren County. I'm glad that we have 6 courses. There's 6, not 5. And I hope to continue playing at the Front Royal Golf Club. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you for your time. Is there anyone else that would like to speak? Is there anyone else in the audience who'd like to speak? Final call. This public hearing is now closed. What's the pleasure of the board?
I have a question first.
Yes, sir.
Because we've got an updated lease agreement. I guess, Mr. Ham, that was changed a little bit. Would you want to expand on that?
Yes, from my understanding from some of the concerns at the work session were transmitted to New Direction. So the terms were changed to the same $100,000 for the same 36 months initially, and then the price is reduced to $70,000 a year rather than the previous 100, and it's only a 36-month extension. I think previously it was 2 5-year extensions. So those are the changes. I've worked with the New Direction Golf Management Corporation's attorney over the last week or so, and if the board wants to do it, the contract is in an acceptable position, but it's up to the policymakers to decide what they want to do.
I have a question, if you will.
Yes, sir.
The receipts from the golf course, if we go forward with this, where do the receipts go? The income that's paid to play the golf course? I want a clarification on that. Does that go to the contract?
New Direction. We
Turn
turned
it
it over
over
to
to
them.
Direction. Can you answer that?
It does not come back.
But they're responsible for upkeep, for insurance, for everything, and then any receipts for revenues they get, it would go back to them.
The receipts go to them. Okay.
Mr. Stanley, what is the current cost to run the golf course to the county now?
Ms. Walsh has got the figure. She was ready for your question.
I was looking over the last 5 years, and in 2014, the course operated at a deficit of just over $41,000, but that also includes the miscellaneous income of $100,000 from where Dominion was leasing property when they were constructing the power plant. 2015, there was a deficit of $151,534. 2016, a deficit of $141,317. 17 was just over $118,000, and 18 was just over $134,000. So for the last 4 years, there's been an average loss of just over $136,000.
Mr. Chairman, given what we've heard here tonight, I think that I'd like to make a motion to table this so that we can delve into it further. And I'd also like to understand the legal implications of the bequeathing of the golf course. I haven't read that will and testament. I don't understand what the terms and conditions are. I think it would prepare us to make a better decision moving forward if we had that information. So I make a motion that we table this.
Make a motion to postpone?
Yeah, table, postpone, whatever.
Postpone, you can have discussion, table, you can't.
Okay.
Technically, if that's what the rules we adopted, I'm not sure if we did that or not. I'm going back to Robert's. I know it's a
I
matter
think
of
to get to
semantics.
well, I would allow you to discuss either way. We're
Okay, well, I just know one way that's what.
I think either way, we know what she wants to do.
Exactly.
I just had a question though before, and that was as far as this time of year, and I'm not sure who would be able to answer that, but this is the time of year I think, no, I agree with the table, but this is the time of year I think they start preparing for the upcoming season. There's certain things that have to be done as far as fertilizing, weed killer, whatever. So I just didn't know what those kind of deadlines were.
The groundhog saw his shadow, so what, anybody can tell me?
I can't speak for Mr. Byrd. He probably could, but I think, obviously the sooner the better. I would say if we could postpone to the March 3rd meeting and try to certainly I can get with legal counsel, we can get those questions answered and put it back on the
You want to
agenda.
have a work session before, you were.
Yes,
requesting
absolutely.
that
Can
before
we-
the 3rd.
Yeah, can we put it on the, what's the next
The
date?
10th would be the next work.
The work session, push it back to the second meeting.
Okay.
That would give us, I think that would give more opportunity for the public to weigh in as well.
That's fine. Like I said, I just don't want to hold up things or as far as what needs to be treated and nothing like that, because there's one of those opportunities there where you have to do certain treatments for the course to get ready for the upcoming year. So I don't know. And I guess we don't have anything next Tuesday.
Yes, sir.
Why not?
We have a budget.
We have anything else? No, we don't have a budget next Tuesday.
No, we don't.
But we got the budget the 3rd, after the regular meeting, and the whole thing. And then we usually have a regular work session on the 10th. I didn't know if we had any other items to discuss next Tuesday or not, just kind of spread it out. I mean, I kind of rather have a small, rather than have marathon sessions, just have 3 or 4 or 5 items. I think the work session we had last Tuesday,
Yes.
I think that worked out really well, time-wise. We got things accomplished.
So if I'm understanding correctly, you want to have, you want to discuss it on the 3rd and vote it on the 10th? Is that
One time, I was thinking about having a work session next Tuesday.
So you're asking for a special work session?
If there's other items, not just for this, but if there are other items that could be put on there, and I don't know what else you got on the plate, Mr. Stanley.
At this point, I don't think we really have anything that's.
I didn't think so either. I mean,
Can we have the work session prior to the March 3rd meeting, or is time so up
We could
against?
come in the morning like it, early.
Or we could just have an adjournment, you go to work session, or just have it out in the public too, if there's more stuff, and then we can come back and vote on it during that meeting. So the 3rd would work.
March 3rd?
Have a work session
All
on
right, so I'll make a motion that we postpone the decision till March 3rd.
or table.
are we done with all of that?
I second that.
Somebody needs a second.
I second that.
Okay,
Is
so
it-
I'm understanding this, we're going to discuss it and vote on it March 3rd.
We're gonna discuss it. It'll remain to be seen if we actually do take a vote. We may want more time.
Right.
I think we want to look at it closely and make sure everybody feels comfortable with it.
Okay. So would you state your motion one more time so it's very clear?
All right, I make the motion that we table this decision until after the work session on March 3rd.
I'll second that again. Okay.
Any further discussion? All those in favor by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
That was painful.
It's all right. Growing pains. Save money, I think.
No. Next on the agenda is the conditional use permit number 2019-12-01, Brian and Ann Coley for short-term rental.
Yes, good evening, Mr. Chairman and members of the Board of Supervisors. This property is located at 64 Rocky Lane in the South River Magisterial District and identified on tax map 28B, Section 1 as parcel 4A. The lot is zoned agricultural, is approximately 0.72 acres, is not located in the subdivision served by a property owners association, a homeowners association. Mr. and Mrs. Connolly have requested this use after making a number of improvements to the structure, which was built in 1942 and previously owned by Ms. Connolly prior to their recent marriage. This use would allow them to recoup some of that investment. They currently live within 15 minutes of the property and would be the acting property managers. This property has not had any previous conditional use permits issued and has no previous zoning violations. The applicant was issued a sewage disposal system operational permit from Warren County Health Department for a sewage system which is permitted for 2 bedrooms with a maximum occupancy of 4 persons at 200 gallons per day. This short-term tourist rental dwelling does not meet the setback requirements of 100 feet, which is a requirement of the supplemental regulations to the adjacent single-family dwelling. A waiver to the setback is required since the closest adjacent dwelling is 63 feet to the west. The applicants have submitted a signed letter from their neighbors, Mr. and Mrs. Wines, giving consent to their request to be closer than the required 100 feet. The supplemental regulations do require that the property lines be clearly identified. The Planning Commission has recommended the approval of this application with the following conditions as recommended by the Commission and planning staff. Number 1, the applicant shall comply with Warren County Health Department, Warren County Building Inspections, and Virginia statewide fire prevention code regulations and requirements. Number 2, the maximum number of occupants shall not exceed 4 persons as determined according to the health department conditional permit for the 2-bedroom dwelling. Number 3, the applicant shall have the well water tested annually for E. coli and coliform bacteria, and a copy of those results should be submitted to the planning department and health department. Number 4, the applicant shall have the septic system inspected annually by a state licensed inspector. Copy of the results shall be submitted to planning and health departments. This system shall also be serviced every 5 years as recommended by the health department, and a copy of the service invoice shall be provided to the planning department. Number 5, the property shall be in compliance with Section 18056.4 Warren County zoning ordinance regarding the supplemental regulations for short-term tourist rentals, which include a property management plan to be submitted to the planning department prior to staff issuing a certificate of readiness for this use. I will mention that the applicants have submitted a draft plan to the county staff. We will review that if this is moved forward with approval. Number 6, the applicant shall register with the Commissioner of Revenue's Office for transient lodging tax purposes. Number 7, a waiver to the required setback of 100 feet to the adjacent property dwelling shall be granted for the existing 63-foot setback to the residents west of the subject property. This public hearing has been properly advertised. Adjacent property owners have been notified. Subject property was posted in accordance with Warren County Code. I would be happy to answer any questions, and the applicants are also here.
Would the applicants like to come forward at all? All right, thank you.
Now, unless you have any questions.
Does the board have any questions or concerns for the staff?
You did say, I think I heard you, they're not part of a POA or anything.
They are accessed directly off Rocky Lane. They are not in a POA or
And they need the waiver for the setback, but that's given by the neighbor.
That's given by that neighbor.
I do have a concern. I was here at the meeting and Mr. Wines seemed confused about signing, and I've made several attempts to stop and clarify for my own peace of mind, his memory of signing this, and I haven't been able to do that. So I'm a little reluctant to vote on this tonight until I have an opportunity to speak to him and to feel more comfortable about his memory of this.
Mr. Chairman, I have some concerns with the 63-foot setback. I suggest perhaps we could go back to the planning commission and ask them if they might change the setback, because I think that may be a problem in the future, because others will want to, when others come in, and especially in these dense subdivisions, and if we allow 63 rather than 100 foot, in this case, I think it would come back to harness, if you will, on the coast and the other subdivisions that the houses are much closer together and they couldn't get the 100-foot setback, and then we would almost fail setting a precedent like this to go forward. So I would like for us to consider that and perhaps send it back to the planning commission.
Any other questions or concerns? The public hearing on this is now open. Shelley, is there anybody signed up?
Mr. Chairman, no one signed up.
Is there anyone that would like to speak now? Yes, sir.
My name is Brian Conley. I live at 370 Westland Lane in Bentonville, and my wife and I are the owners of this property. To address Ms. Peller's particular question about the interaction with Mr. Wines about it, if you look at the letter closely, I wrote the letter myself and we brought it to Mr. Wines, and we specifically put on the letter, it's 3 pages, of which first is a statement that he understands what the regulation is and has no objection to it. Second page of the letter was a copy of the actual code. Put it on there so that we could show it to Mr. Wines. It wasn't something we were trying to put something over on. And I'll put it in writing for Mr. Wines what the regulation was, what we were asking for, and I actually highlighted on his copy of that 100-foot setback requirement that we were closer than 100 feet, and we described him and were able to show him the management plan, which the draft of which Mr. Lindland has in his possession. And the third page was an actual map that I put together based on the information from the Warren County GIS. Mr. Wendling's number is 63 foot, mine I think was 72 or something, but it's still clearly within. So we wanted to make sure that he had in his hand, in writing, and explain to him what all of that meant, and that it did require his approval. Now, part of the thing about a short-term tourist rental is that they are just that. They're short-term, limited term. Usually, it could be for one night, could be for 5 nights, could be for a week. But they are short-term, which means if you have a problem with a tenant in a short-term rental, first of all, you can terminate it right away and get them out of there. First of all, we have a significant investment in this property and we want to maintain it, which means I want to maintain the physical integrity of the property. We want to maintain the reputation of our business enterprise to make sure that it doesn't get down. And we want to maintain the good, our good relationship with our neighbors as well. Now, a long-term rental, you're signing, as a landlord, you're signing a lease for not less than 6 months, oftentimes it's not less than a year. And it can be very, very difficult to get a problem tenant out of there. And this is something that we could do by right as of now. Now, we'd rather, like Mr. Wendling says, go ahead and go with the model that allows the short-term tourist rentals. And again, that offers for Mr. Wines and any other surrounding one more protection against problems. Part of the requirements also in the code that you guys have already passed is reference to the Warren County noise ordinance that has to be enforced. Reference specifically to things like warranty, use of allowance of fires and things on the property. both of which are already referenced in the management plan. So we really hope that we have taken care of all of that already. So,
And I'm not doubting, trying to doubt your word here, but I've known Mr. Wines for a long time. And, you know, I saw the confusion in him that night, and he's a very sharp man, but he was going through a difficult time with his wife. And I just don't feel that I can vote on this tonight, and I have made several attempts to reach out to him, and we're just not connected. And I just don't feel right about doing this without asking him again. And if he tells me he's fine with this, then I'll feel better about it. I just feel like I need to do this.
Yeah.
The thing about that is, Mr. Wines was at the last meeting.
I know, that's what I'm talking about, and he was adamant
just like
he did
that,
not remember signing.
That's not how he ended the meeting, because when I reminded him that I went to his house and we sat on the porch, I also have a good relationship with Mr. Wines and with Barbara before she passed. You know, we're very close neighbors, we're within 70 feet of each other. So I have a very good relationship with them as well, and we sat on his front porch like we've done many times in the past, and I explained to him what I was doing, and he knew all about it. The problem was that was in August, and we didn't start filing paperwork until October, and I think that he didn't receive notification until probably November, and he had forgotten the letter. And to him, he thought that we were saying that he had mailed in a letter, that they had received mailed letters, and that's not the thing. He was like, I didn't mail anything. But he did that day remember when I asked him about it, because I had come up to the podium.
I remember you asked me if he remembered sitting on the porch.
I have
He
also
couldn't remember signing a letter, so that's where I want to ask him.
But I've also reached out to him a couple of times and left him voicemails. And I don't know if he's still living there, or if because his wife is deceased that he is now staying with his daughter, who doesn't live in North County. So I don't know, but I've left him several voicemails as well, because I was trying to remind him there's a third meeting. But I don't want any implication to put out to be led that I'm taking advantage of my elderly
And that is
neighbor,
not
because
my
that concerns me.
My intent is just to make sure with him that I feel comfortable that he remembers, and that's all.
Well, I will, if I see him over there, I'll get your card, and I'll have him reach out to you, because he's not returning my calls either. And as far as I know, it's still the same voice.
I think I'll probably see him if I go to IHOP on Wednesdays. We usually have him meet there for dinner. So, I haven't gone for the last several because of other meetings, but, I'll get with him, and I'll make a point if I have to go down every day, because I go by his house to go to mine every day, and I don't want to drag this out, but for my peace of mind, I just need to know that he's fine with this.
And Mr. Fox, I mean, in terms of your question about exceptions, I can understand that.
Get closer.
Do I need to get closer to this or farther from it, folks? I apologize for that. In terms of those exceptions, that is something that is a common part of many types of zoning regulations, is, that there are hard and fast rules, and then there are those for which exceptions are granted. The character of the area that we are in is very rural. I mean, that's one of the reasons that it really is, that the property is a good candidate for short-term tourist rental, is because of the fact that it is in a rural area. Not even on a paved road. Actually, just recently paved road, barely paved. In any case, these types of uses for tourist rentals like this are very common, not only they're less common in Warren County, but being more so, but in many areas, they don't have any setback requirements like that, because of some of the reasons I stated earlier of the fact that because they're short-term tourist rentals, there's a lot of control on the part of the landowner as to who is allowed. First of all, you can say no if you have somebody who applies as a client and they have a bad reputation in the past. And if somebody does give you a problem, they're out in a very short period of time, and they are not going to come back. I mean, that's one of the advantages, again, of that entire business model, is that it allows that sort of control over the behaviors that are acceptable. But, you get a bad actor, they don't come back, and they're out very quickly. Unlike if I have to get somebody in there for a 12-month or longer lease. I hope that you really will accept that this is just part of doing business in terms of zoning. And exceptions do sometimes are required.
Thank you very much. Appreciate you coming up and talking. Is there anyone else that would like to speak? Final call. What is the pleasure of the board? This public hearing is now closed. What is the pleasure of the board?
I'd like to postpone making a decision on this until I can speak to Mr. Wines and Mr. Fox's concerns are met.
Do we have a
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
May I? I'm sorry. Mr. Chairman, okay. I would like to, right here, sorry. I'd be happy at the next meeting provide you with the number of forest rentals where a waiver was.
That would be
by the board. Okay, I'll be happy to do that if it's postponed.
That's suffice, Mr.
Are you saying that there's been others that the setbacks?
Yes, there were a few others that were granted setbacks, and they were primarily granted because the adjacent property owner did not have issue with that and provided us with written documentation.
Do you think perhaps the planning commission might reduce the amount so that we wouldn't have to make exceptions?
Certainly we could look at that, and we'll speak with Ms. Logan and Teddy and our planning commission, and we can address that if you feel that's necessary.
I think it would make it a whole lot more comfortable to make a decision if the setback was addressed by the planning commission, because they had the insight and the experience for the different subdivisions that it may impact.
For this particular one, they've already given us guidance and they granted a waiver, and there have been others. I don't disagree that we need to send it back to them to look at an overall picture. I have no problem with that. But the one in front of us right now that's been granted, I would suggest that we put this on March 3rd. And then if you still have difficulty getting a hold of Mr. Wines, we can push it back again. But then that way at least we could have a concrete time that's amenable.
I will, if I can't get him, I'll contact his daughter.
I'll second that motion.
All those in favor?
Well, hang on a minute. Your original motion was really sort of to postpone it generally, and Tony has suggested that your motion is, perhaps you would agree to make your motion to be to postpone it until the March 3rd meeting.
Okay, I amend that motion to the date of March 3rd.
Second.
Any additional comment? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion accepted. Next on the agenda is the conditional use permit 2019-12-02, Damon and Robin Fieldman for short-term tourist rental.
Yep.
Mr.
This property is located at 53 Crystal River Road within the South River Magisterial District. It's identified on tax map 41B as parcel 7. The lot is zoned agricultural. It's approximately 5 acres. It is not located in a subdivision served by POA or HOA, but is served by a road maintenance committee. The property is accessed via a private road with a padlock chain. Mr. and Mrs. Feldman have requested this use since it is a second home for them. They would like to rent it approximately 20 weekends and a few weeks a year. They state that the rental of this house will offset some of those costs associated with the property, and would hope that it benefits the county economically. They also stated that local resident Barry Kenny will assist with property maintenance and security for the property, and the gatekeeper Felsmans do not live locally. This property has not had any previous conditional use permits issued and has no previous zoning violations. The structure did receive a certificate of occupancy on May 31st, 2019 by the Warren County building official. A letter was sent to the road committee contact person, Mrs. Connie Sprong, and she expressed concerns of security of the property served by Crystal River Road, the risk of outdoor campfires, and property boundaries not being clearly marked. Mr. Feldman, since the county received that letter from her, Mr. Feldman has been working with Ms. Spong and 6 of the property owners whose lots are accessed from Crystal River Road regarding the security and the access to those properties. There are a total of 14 properties within this subdivision, 8 of which are accessed by Misty Meadow Lane. The supplemental regulations do address the identifying of the property boundaries. The outdoor campfires concern will be mitigated via a condition on the permit. The applicant has been issued a sewage disposal operational permit from the Warren County Health Department sewage system for a sewage system which is permitted for 3 bedrooms with a maximum occupancy of 6 persons at 600 gallons per day. The short-term tourist dwelling does meet the setback requirements of 100 feet to the adjacent single-family dwelling, as the property is 744 feet from the nearest dwelling. I'll forego reading all of the conditions. They are exactly the same as the previous application. That would be number 1, 3, 4, 5, and 7. These were moved forward by the Planning Commission with approval as recommended by Commission and planning staff. The 2 additional conditions that are different are number 2, the maximum number of occupants shall not exceed 6 persons as determined according to the Health Department conditional permit for a 3-bedroom dwelling. And number 6, the use of fireworks and open outdoor campfires shall be prohibited. This public hearing has been properly advertised. Adjacent property owners have been notified. Subject property was posted in accordance with the Warren County Code. Mr. Feldman is here this evening, and I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Mr. Feldman, would you like to speak?
Only if you have questions, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
All right, thank you. Does the board have any questions or concerns for the staff?
Now, it says it's Shenandoah Meadows subdivision. Is that a POA as well?
Shenandoah Meadows, it's this subdivision, it doesn't have a POA. The adjacent subdivision, I believe, does. Okay. This one does not. They just have solely a road maintenance committee, kind of a committee, and Ms. Strong is that person who manages it.
But they're not a gated community?
Technically, there is no gate. They have a chain that is padlocked. Mr. Feldman may be able to answer that question a little more clearly for you.
Sure. My name is David Feldman. I live at 11222 Fairway Drive in Reston. So we have a right-of-way that serves half of this little subdivision. So there's just a road maintenance. I think we pay about $50 a year. So it's, that's all we do. So we have a right-of-way that actually comes in through my property and then goes up the property line and then back to 5 or 6 more. And I have a gate at the boundary of that. And without, I'd like to say I don't have legal responsibility for everybody's security for all time, but I do keep that gate locked as much as possible. And that's kind of I think it was a service I do for everybody. I talked to Connie up the hill, who's the only other person with a house. This is all agricultural land. None of the other lots are developed. She said she's worried about people leaving the gate open, which we're all worried about because we don't want people driving. So I told her I would put another chain barrier halfway up the road to block off any traffic going up the hill to her area. And also had a phone call with Lisa, another neighbor who just uses it as a camping site. She's satisfied with the conditions Mr. Wendland laid out. So it's not a gated community. I have a gate. I'm happy to keep that gate closed, and I'm actually, as part of the condition, to build a second barrier, a chain barrier, but it's not a gated community, and it's not a HOA, and it's more of a very rural, undeveloped area. Does it help, Mr. Carter?
Yes, does, thank you.
Do you have a plan for how your tenants are gonna get in?
Oh, yeah, we have a chain that chains the gate to the post. There's 2 locks sort of daisy chained on there. One's a combination lock that somebody can open with combination, and then the owners all have a key that we use to get the padlock. So the idea would be to give them the combination, also have a combination on the door of the house. And with those combinations, they'll be able to get in and out.
But what you're stating is that you've got that particular gate is to your lot specifically, and then you're gonna put up another chained area to prevent somebody from going to the next lot? Was that what I understood what you were saying?
So the gate is on the right of way that serves about 6 or 8 properties, one of which is mine. And mine and another one are right there through that gate. And then there's a tree line where we're going to put another chain. So in order to get to the other 4 or 5 properties, you'd have to go through that chain. And in particular, the only other structure is in Ms. Kai Spong's property. To get to her cabin, you'd have to go through that chain as well. So that'll be a vehicle barrier. The area is not fenced, so pedestrians can just come and go. But as a vehicle barrier, we'll do the chain.
I have a question. Do you have agreement with the other property owners that share your same gate in the road, that you're all in agreement on how the operation, this operation of getting through the gate's going to work?
Yes, sir. I emailed, I actually mailed a letter to everybody explaining what we were doing and so on. And of course, the county has also sent the notices. And by that time, I'd already spoke to Connie, because she's the only person who's really sort of a neighbor who lives there in a reasonable period of time. Everybody else, I actually haven't seen, except the one person going hunting up in Atlanta. So, but then Lisa did call me, and we had a phone conversation. Other than that, no one called me in response to the letter or email, so I've only spoken to the 2, but everyone's had a letter.
Well, could you furnish written agreement or written acknowledgement of how it's going to be handled to the planning department? What the procedure will be for the other property?
Oh, I think we have that. I'm not sure.
We would have that as part of this property management plan. That would be included
That would
in
come-
that.
come-
We would
come
make sure
forward,
that
right.
that was addressed in that
Okay.
property management plan.
Very well.
You said that Mr. Kenny is going to be your property manager, overseer when you're not there?
He keeps an eye on things generally. Honestly, I haven't arranged something specifically with Mr. Kenny other than the fact that he generally is one of the owners who keeps an eye
Okay, I
on things.
misunderstood then, because I was going to say he's also a property owner there. So I thought that was something you worked out with him. I misunderstood.
It could be that Connie had talked to him about that, and that's why I got into the documents. I have somebody in Blu-ray who comes up and kind of does maintenance, and also his wife is the person who does the cleaning and lockup after. So she'll be responsible. Actually, talked to her today about, I didn't say progress, so kind of like more of a manager, make sure nothing is damaged, everything is put the right way, trash is taken out, all the gates are locked. I wouldn't expect either of those folks to run up there. If there was trouble, I would probably do that myself. I'm not quite local, but not so far either.
Anything else? Okay, the public hearing is now open. Shelley, is anyone signed up for this?
No one signed up.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to speak? If there was no one in the audience who would like to speak, final call. This public hearing is now closed. What is the pleasure of the board?
I move that the Board of Supervisors approve the conditional use permit of David and Robin Feldman for a short-term rental, tourist rental, with the conditions as recommended by the Planning Commission and staff.
Second.
Somebody's second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. The next item on the agenda is the 2019-12-03 Randall S. Pars, a request for a conditional use permit for a facility for artisan and craftsman trades not exceeding 5,000 square feet in size.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and the board. Yes, the applicant is seeking a conditional use permit for an artisan and craftsman facility in order to expand their small-scale wood business. The applicant plans to build a workshop adjacent to the dwelling at the southern end of the property, and the structure shall not exceed 5,000 square feet as stipulated by the Warren County Code. Business will have 2 to 6 full-time employees, and the hours of operation will be during typical working hours, Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. And all power tools and dust collection systems will be secured within that building. Customers will be allowed to visit on a by-appointment basis, but discussing it with the applicant, they don't expect any customers. Most of their clientele is based out of Northern Virginia, so they typically go to them. The business builds custom wood components for stairs, cabinetry, and built-in furniture, and they will be storing raw materials in the new structure, which includes prefabricated cabinets, drawers, and hardware. They plan to access water using an existing well on the property, and they will replace the existing septic system with one that can accommodate both the dwelling and the new workshop. The dwelling is served by State Route 646 East Step Road, though the workshop will be used a privately maintained easement that is an extension of East Step Road. We have received comments from the Health Department, VDOT, and the Fire Marshal's Office and the Building Office, all stating that as long as they meet their code and septic system and VDOT. We do not have any supplementary regulations in the Warren County Code for an artisan and craftsman facility, so we do have some conditions. I'll briefly go through these real quick. The applicant shall comply with building inspections, health department, and fire marshal regulations as stated in their comments. Hours of operation as stated before from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Monday through Friday. The business shall have no more than 6 full-time employees and off-street parking shall be provided. The applicant shall plant a landscape buffer between the workshop and the adjacent parcel to the south, consisting of trees, shrubs to be approved by county planning staff. There is a power line easement that runs between this parcel and the adjoining property, so we figured just north of that parcel we'll do some like a buffer, so prevent any sound. Noise measured at the nearest property line shall not exceed 60 decibels, and customer visitation shall be limited to a by-appointment basis. No more than 1 customer vehicle at a time, and off-street parking shall be provided. Any trash and debris related to the business shall be removed on a weekly basis, and any exterior light fixture shall be full cut off and fully shielded, projected downwards. The applicant is here. This has been properly advertised, and the adjacent property owners have been notified. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer those. And the applicant is here as well. Thank you.
I have a question, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
The building, will they use the driveway that serves the home or the house now, or will there be another driveway that goes onto the state East Step Road?
The plan is that it'll have a private driveway that'll go onto the East Step Road. We did, maybe include your, we did some research on that road. There is no road maintenance agreement. I even spoke with a local surveyor to find out it's just an old road that goes through there. And again, the adjoining property owners were notified that this is the way that they would be accessed.
Would they have to get a permit from the VDOT in order to get an entrance onto that road?
So VDOT commented as long as it's not entering a VDOT state maintained road, they will not need a permit. If they were to utilize the existing driveway that is on East Step, they would have to go to VDOT for any approval.
So that this has been addressed there?
Yes, sir.
Okay, that's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Any additional questions to the staff? The public hearing is now open. Shelley, is there anyone signed up?
Mr. Chairman, no one signed up.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to speak at all? Final call. This public hearing is now closed. What's the pleasure of the board?
Mr. Chairman, I move that the Board of Supervisors approve the conditional use permit request of Randall Pars for an artisan and craftsman trades not exceeding 5,000 square foot in size with conditions as recommended by the Planning Commission and staff.
Do we have a second?
I second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. Now we'll go back to our original agenda. And we are in our agenda item G, which is approval of the minutes.
Move to accept the work session minutes of January 14th.
Say again, sir.
I say, I'll move that we accept the work session minutes of January 14th.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Say again, sir.
I'll just say I wasn't there. I made a motion.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Now we've got the regular meeting for February 4th to 2020.
Move we accept those minutes February 4th, 2020.
Second.
Are any additional comments or discussion? All those in favor by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next is the appropriations and transfers for February 2020.
Move we accept the appropriations and transfers for February 2020.
Second.
Is there any further discussion? All those in favor by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next is the approval of the accounts for February 2020.
Move we approve the accounts for February 2020.
Second.
Any additional comments or concerns?
I would just like to make a comment for the public. I know I held this up last month, and Mrs. Oakes and I sat down with Mr. Stanley today and went through line by line, and I feel very comfortable passing these through.
There's something too that I thought, they've always done that since I've been here, the year before. I thought it was always something that the state required counties to do, but that's not true. They've just always done it. And by no means am I suggesting that we don't do it, but I think that gives us one more means to actually see where the expenditures are going. So just to clarify that.
Any additional comments? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. We have one piece of unfinished business, which is the appropriations and transfers from January 2020.
I'll make the motion that we approve the appropriations and transfers from January 2020.
I second that.
Any further discussion?
I'll just add that Cheryl and I have sat down with everybody in finance at this point, so we're very comfortable making these decisions.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. New business, the consent agenda.
I move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Is there any additional discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that until we are finished with the budget, that we put a no start on any capital improvement projects unless they're authorized by the Board of Supervisors. I've got it written on my paper, it's not on this one.
Just don't know.
I just would rather hold starting any big projects or new projects until we get a good handle on the budget and see where possible cuts could be. We passed the roads through, so that's not an option, so.
I'm sorry, what? Would you say it's not an option?
Since we passed the roads through, that's no longer an option, so.
Yeah, it's not on the plate for discussion anymore, so.
Right.
I just would like to have something to fall back on instead of the usual cuts. And I don't see where anything that's on here that hasn't been started that's gonna be a major thing to hold until we get on the budget. Not saying not do them, just saying don't start them unless we authorize it.
May I ask a question? Would this in any way delay anything that's going forward in any way to postpone this?
I'm trying to think, obviously we'll be through the budget process here in the next 2 months. Probably some things that are, we'll talk at our next building committee meeting. Things like the fire training facility, things like that could be held up, but I think, again, depends on the exact timing between now and the start of the budget. But as Ms. Carter said, we could bring it to the board. We'd have to approve the award and bid anyway, so the board would see that. So I think staff can work with it.
I would support the motion.
So, this is not on our agenda, and it can be. We'll have to make a motion to amend the agenda in order to enable everyone to have advance notice of things. Your rules 3-2 provides that it's got to be unanimous vote for the agenda to be amended. So if you would like to make a motion to amend the agenda to add this item, that will be appropriate.
Before that's I think what Ms. Collins discussed, I think we're all in agreement basically. So I don't know, I think that gives the staff direction. And I'm not sure exactly what you're saying as far as, starting capital improvements until we approve them.
Right, the capital improvement plan has been set forth by the prior board for certain things. Before we start those, until this budget is firmed up, I would rather hold them so that if we come with a shortfall, then we can put that on hold indefinitely to use those funds instead of raising taxes.
Yeah, I don't think there's any problem with that. All I think it is, if that shows up, it's either going to show up depending on the importance of it on a regular agenda item, or it will wind up on a consent agenda item. And if that's the case, every board member here has the right to pull that for further discussion or table.
Right.
So I don't know if we really need to make something, and we've already given staff, I think, I don't think anybody's objecting to what you're suggesting, and we don't want to see anything unless it's absolutely necessary, critical, and at that time, we still have to approve it, even if it was on the agenda or else on the table. So I don't know if there's any need to really do a formal motion.
Mr. Ham?
It's entirely up to you. I mean, if Mr. Stanley, I think, acknowledges the point of that, and as Tony points out, probably it's really broader than what the motion was, that you don't want funds spent on things, even if they were previously approved on new capital projects. So certainly, you can make the motion and you can do that. Right now, you've provided direction to staff, but you can take it a step further and do it if you like. It's not necessary that you do that. I think Mr. Stanley has gotten the message, but if you want to prohibit him formally from starting any capital projects, you would need to take formal action.
Okay, like I said, that's the capital improvement plan. You said the previous board, we go through it every year. I don't know when we got that coming up. I think, we'll look at that again and rank those projects. But then we still have to come up before this board to begin that project for the most part and approve it. So I think there's still oversight with this current board to look at that. And again, we don't want to see anything come up till we get a good way through the budget and find out what kind of gap there's going to be.
Maybe I can ask a question here to Doug. Is there a project that has been previously approved that hasn't started? Would this actually apply to anything?
Yeah, the fire training facilities, once in the capital improvement plan, we've actually bid it and bids have come back. We'll be discussing that at the next building committee meeting, but that's an example of one that has to come to this board for approval anyway. So, you know, I think we can work around it.
Has there been any money spent on that yet?
There's been money spent on some of the design work and the site plan for that.
But nothing major that.
Not like the award of the bid, we haven't done any site work, we haven't done all the rest of those costs yet.
And we plan on. If I'm understanding correctly, we would have to vote on any dollar spent on anything coming up new. And I think that's what Mrs. Cullors is thinking.
A little, for instance, we're in the process of adding carpet down the hall for the finance office. That's a capital project. It's one we're currently under construction on.
Well, that's something that's already started. I'm talking about anything.
Yeah, so my interpretation would be we would continue forward on something like that. What we wouldn't do is pick up something new and start it.
Right.
That makes sense.
That's what I'm thinking, walking trails, those kind of things that are on that plan, but they can be held until we can do without a walking plan. I mean, walking trail, if it comes down to giving the fire department the burn building they need, those kind of things. That's.
I'm not sure they would have to do anything. I believe that we would have to vote on it before we ever did anything anyway.
Well, as long as that's understood.
Yeah, so the board, any contract or award over $20,000 would have to come to the board. So that's most of our major, anything size would have to come before you anyway, bid out. But certainly, I think staff understands the general intent, which is we haven't started yet. Let's not start it until after the
Right.
process.
So if we don't need the motion to make that understood, then I'll take that back.
Okay. Now the part that everybody's been waiting on. The general public comment period, which is a 15-minute time limit, and that gives you the ability for the public to comment on anything that they want to talk about. You can bring forward. Shelley, has anybody signed up for that?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. The first one is Mr. Hahn.
How many people have signed up?
Yeah, how many people have signed up? Three. Okay. Please limit your message to about 5 minutes, or because we've only got 15 minutes.
Yes, sir. My name is Sam Hahn. I'm from 103 North Fork Road. I only came for basically two things tonight. One is a few weeks ago, if you recall, I actually delivered a resolution to you all. I'm not going to beat a dead horse and ask for you all to pick it back up. However, there is a group locally that has been operating out of Warren County, and we're trying to maintain 100% transparency for everybody. We've even gone so far as to speak with the local sheriff's department, the town police department. We're making arrangements now with the local fire and EMS for additional training for all the members. And the way that things are going, we don't want to pick up a bad name. So every few weeks, once we've accomplished something else, we'll come back and allow you to know exactly what's going on. That way it keeps you feeling a little bit better that you know what we're doing, and it keeps the public, it keeps us in the public view. That way they understand that we have no ill intent. The second thing is, you have to excuse me. I've been listening to you guys talk about a golf range and everything like that, or for the county. I guarantee you more people in this county own firearms than they do golf clubs. And so what the county really needs is a range. And if you, Mr. Chairman, would like to pick one or two of the other members to meet with me, I've actually done some research on grants that would allow the actual county to put these ranges in. It would be a minimal cost to us as taxpayers, and it would be something that would generate revenue for the county. So that's pretty much all I have as far as me coming up here to address you today. So if there's any questions or anything.
Shall we make sure that we've got Mr. Ham's name and address, phone number, we'll get in touch with him. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Shelley, anybody else?
Mr. Aldrich.
Good evening. My name is Paul Aldrich. I live at 256 Orchard Street in Front Royal. As Sam said, we wanted to maintain transparency. The last couple of weeks, there was some unfortunate flooding down in Tazewell County. We dispatched a group of guys down there. We collected supplies from here, water, blankets, you name it, food, etc., and we sent that down there. There was also a second group that went down yesterday with more supplies to help out. Yesterday, I was in Richmond. I had the pleasure of listening to the Senate vote on House Bill 961 and actually remove that. There's another bill that I'm a little concerned about. It's Senate Bill 35. And Senate Bill 35 actually takes control of firearms by localities. Therefore, you would have the ability to turn around and say, we're going to make this area a gun-free zone. Not that I don't want you to be able to have that purview, but as we had previously discussed with the resolution for the Second Amendment here, I wanted to put forward a simple proposed ordinance that basically handles House or Senate Bill 35. That ordinance is literally 2 sentences. It states, the county shall not exercise any ordinance pursuant to Virginia 15.2-915, Section E and Section F. And that literally eliminates House Bill 35 being even an issue here. So that is my proposal. I'd like to put that forward. I also had the wonderful opportunity to speak with our legislators while I was down in Richmond yesterday. Unfortunately, Mr. Obenshing was very busy. He was on the committee. I got about 10 minutes with him. However, I did get to speak to our delegate and his legislative director. He's very, very pleased with what he sees going on up here and wants to help us in any way possible. So we had a really good talk. I also had a good talk with Delegate Moorfield from Tazewell County. And he was horrendously thankful for the work that we have done trying to help the citizens down there. So I'll leave that with you. If you have any questions about the ordinance, I have it here. I can email it to you if you want, or set it up however you would like.
If you give a copy of it to Shelley, she'll make sure she gets all of it.
I don't have any written, but I can email that to you. Can I do that? Okay. All right.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
The group that you're trying to get together, I understand that, and I understand that you're working with the sheriff.
Yes.
Are you working with other groups that are within the area to do exactly what you're trying to do?
Yes, we are.
I personally talked with another group today and never heard of it.
Okay. Okay.
And I believe that there has to be an effort put forth so that everybody knows what everybody's doing.
I would agree with you.
And to just, if I would want a militia, and I don't like the word militia, and everybody knows that.
Yes.
Because it denotes a bad connotation.
Understand.
Again, I would like to know who's in charge, who's funding it, who's vetting it, and the 2,800 other questions that I have about this very thing. Because if we're going to put people out there, they've got to be safe. And we've got to protect the people that honestly don't want it.
I agree.
And if we don't do that, we're behind the curve. Granted, I understand Tazewell. I met with Tazewell 2 weeks ago, or last week when we were in Richmond. And I understood what they were going through, and we talked about this.
Okay.
So communication is going to be the key. And I can't emphasize enough how much that you have to be involved with everybody so you're not confusing everybody.
And we are definitely working on that. We have put forward to the town the possibility of holding what we're going to call a volunteer day, probably in April, where we're going to bring the volunteer community together. So the sheriff's department, law enforcement from the town, the fire department, search and rescue, 4-H, the Boy Scouts, and just have a community day where we can all get together. We can all show what's going on, what we're doing, and how we're doing it. And those that want to be involved and help the community can absolutely participate. So that is one of our thought processes. Beyond that, I would actually have to refer a little bit to Mr. Hahn, as he's kind of running things a little bit more than I am. I'm more in the communication department between you guys and with the town. So it's a learning process for me as well.
Thank you.
If I may, Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
The other group that you said you met with, I believe is probably the 113 for the local area. We are actually speaking with them on the 28th of this month. We are going to sit down with them and several others from groups in this area to actually try to bring everybody together. One of the things that I actually got to speak with the sheriff about was trying to make arrangements for them to run our background checks up here so that I don't have to send them down south. Because right now we have a sheriff's department in the southern area of Virginia that's actually helping us out with background checks. But I would like to be able to do it locally because it cuts down on my time of having to send them out and wait. A lot of the questions you had when I first brought you that resolution, we have been sitting down and actually getting stuff together to be able to hand in a outlined SOP. Some of these ideas came from the sheriff himself, some of them came from the town police. But we are actually putting together a booklet for everybody so that we can do an open call for the county. And that's part of what Volunteer Day is going to be. So that we can have everybody come in and see what the options are around the county that they could volunteer to help that would improve our community.
Our goal is to improve the community, bring the community together, and protect it at the same time. I don't think we'll need that. I hope to God we never need that. But if we bring the community together, we're better off for it across the board, in my opinion. I think that would benefit all of us.
And a lot of the things, like I spoke about range earlier, things of that nature, we have all been overlooking one of the greatest resources our county has, and that's the citizens. If you actually take some of the ideas that you come up with in here and you take them out there, you'll get a lot more support. It's just things that get spoke about here. People don't come anymore because they're just tired of the same old thing, or they don't think that their voice matters anymore. And that's the way that the community's been for the past several years. You're getting a lot more influx now because of all the junk that's been going on in the county.
I disagree. I believe this county is doing better.
Absolutely, that's what I'm saying.
And it's because of the new board. And I believe that we're doing the right things. And we have to request from the people that come in front of us to do the right thing as well. And the connotation that what you're putting forward is a tough situation. And we have to get past that. I don't want to approve anything that I'm going to have to pay for that's going to scare people.
Right.
And we wouldn't ask you to pay for something that's going to scare you.
Well,
we want to help the community.
I want to help the community, and I want to be involved. And I'm happy to talk with you anytime. Just let me know.
Okay.
And I appreciate your time.
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much.
Thank you all.
Is there anybody else that would like?
Mr. Gabbard?
Hello again, Mr. Chairman, Board. I wholeheartedly agree with you, Mr. Chairman. There's a whole lot to know and a whole lot to go through. Who's going to pay for what? Who's going to pay for this and that? And I'm not sure how that's going to go around. A comment that Mr. Carter said, and this is nothing against Mr. Carter, when he said
fertilizer and weed killer at the golf course. And I'm sure he's probably like me. I cringe when I hear the word weed killer used on property that creates a bank or a shoreline on the Shenandoah River. They just don't go together, but it's done all the time. I know that. The reason I really came up here, there's a comment I want to make. And it is the following. At a time when the Board of Supervisors and the EDA are showing their willingness to pull together and work towards a common goal, the Town Council of Front Royal still insists to stay on their own course of irresponsibility and lone wolf stature. When this is a time all three should be working towards the same common good and goal for the citizens, the Town Council is working recklessly and blindly for the present and the future. The Town Council is willing to show they have the power to do it their way and their way only. Front Royal is the gateway to Warren County, and that gateway has become a 7-person gateway. Truly a travesty for both the county and the town. I will also add that Mayor T-Wall is not a part of this 7-person gateway. I just find it very, don't even know the word that I want to say, what the Town Council is doing to this county and to the town. It's a shame. It's a shame they don't listen to anybody. It's a shame they can't go to a meeting with the EDA and be part of it instead of recklessly going out of the room and leaving. The other thing I have is a question for Mr. Stanley, just to make sure that the county is above board on EPA regulations. The question is, was there a test, an exam, or whatever you want to call it, that is an EPA required thing of checking for, I'm at a loss. The old building that was tore down beside the laundromat, a inspection of the asbestos, that is an EPA required check. Does the county have any paperwork to back that up?
I'll be happy to get the building inspection department to get you the information we have on that. And I believe so. I believe we did have a check, but I can make sure that's given to you.
Thank you. That's all. Thank you. Thank you.
Is there anybody else that would like to speak? Yes, ma'am, Linda.
Linda McDonough, 1205 High Top Road, Linden, Virginia. There was one thing about the group before. That was created here was a CERT team, which is Community Emergency Response Team. The only thing is that we don't carry guns. I mean, I'm sure there's some of them that would like to carry guns, but we just didn't. But it's very similar to what they're talking about, and I was part of the first group that was trained and everything in this county. And it's a very good group, worth looking into and educating ourselves about it, because I am a rural resident too. And then I wanted to clear something up about the taxes and the Shenandoah Farms, and how the builders, not just Shenandoah Farms, but builders can buy large parcels of property and not pay taxes on them. Well, I'm sure that they probably do pay the Warren County tax, but it is the sanitary district tax that they get away with for years and years and years. And like I had said last time, that I have an unimproved lot. Why didn't I qualify? To where whenever we wanted to improvement, that's when I had to start paying the sanitary district fee on it. And so I wanted to clear that up. And I also like maybe for Mr. May to look into the Shenandoah Farms. And it's a very complicated situation. it is 2 counties, and how there are properties, large parcel of properties, like Mr. Smith's, who's passed away now, and his family is developing like 400 acres or something off of Venus Branch Road. Now, we pay for those roads. They have no cemetery district fee, no nothing. So as they came in and they did their logging or building of the homes, yeah, they have the little road fee that that everybody pays when you first come here to build a home, even if there's an existing road. But then they don't pay anything else. And these things need to be settled because as much building has been going on and all of the different properties within the farms that have never paid, even before we became a sanitary district, because they seem to got grandfathered out of it. And I do have quite a bit of information on this issue because we had to bring it in here years ago, and it took us 5 years to convince the board that we needed some understanding on this. And also too, by turning our private roads, because you know we were a private community, property owners of Shenandoah Farms, it was a recreational facility and everything. And by turning our roads over to the state, it doesn't make us private anymore. And with the 5 miles in 10 years that we have paid for, and the county's paid for their quarter, and the state's paid for their half, it's 5 miles, but it's not 5 miles in one area. It's a little itty bitty section over here, and it's a little bitty section over here, and it's just not very beneficial for the community as I see it. And I'm sort of wondering, well, good golly, if they're turning all our roads over to the state and everything, they're taking over and we're having to pay the county to take care of our lake lots, our public facilities that we have for the public. What the hell? Why don't you just dissolve and give it all over to the state or give it to the county? And then we won't have a Shenandoah Farms, and we won't have a sanitary district fee, and they can take care of our roads. Thank you.
Linda?
Yes.
I would be happy to get anything that you've got on that and talk to the board. And my next question would be, have you went and talked to the sanitary district or Shenandoah Farms Homeowners Association about that? And were they willing to listen?
I was on the board. I got on the board, and then after being several years on the board, that's when we came to the county going, look at this, there's no accountability. We have this much of a budget, and I would come in here and say, yeah, Shenandoah Farms is the cash cow, because we have such a budget, and I do understand that there's some roads that Shenandoah Farms does need to pay for because our community does go through it, but other roads where maybe in inclement weather or something like that, you can't sit there and tell me that Shenandoah Farms, all the people go through that road, but oh boy, they want us to pay for it. And so, oh yes, I was on the board, very much involved.
Okay, I would like to help.
Yes.
If at all possible, I'd like to help and at least listen
Okay,
and do the best I can.
I appreciate it, thank you.
Was there anybody else that would like to speak? Thank you very much. Next part of our agenda is we're going into closed session. Would you like to read? Not really.
The reader. I move the board enter into a closed meeting under the provisions of section 2.2-3711A1 of the Virginia Freedom of Information Act for the discussion or consideration of the assignment, appointment, promotion, performance, demotion, salaries, and resignation of a specific public officer of the public body. I further move that discussion be limited to the Economic Development Authority Board of Directors, the Warren County Parks and Recreation Commission, the Joint Tourism Advisory Board, Community Criminal Justice Board, Old Dominion, ASAP, and the Department of Fire and Rescue Services.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion at all? All those in favor by saying.
Roll call, please.
Roll call.
Mr. Fox?
Aye.
Ms. Kohler? Aye. Mr. Chairman?
Aye.
Ms. Oates?
Aye.
Mr. Carter?
Aye.
Motion carries. We're now in closed session. Thank you very much.